Hey YouTube, welcome to another video from SkinnyMedic. In this video, we're going to talk about Mrs. SkinnyMedic getting into canning this year. We've been talking about it for several years about how we want to get into canning because we've been growing a small garden, but we want those vegetables to last throughout the entire winter time, things like that. And freezing them, we just don't like the texture of the vegetables. So to get all the questions asked, why are we doing a canning video on our first aid, first responding video? Because the number one death of firefighters is not line of duty deaths where they die in structure fires, not that. It's cardiovascular disease. So we've got to eat healthier. We all need to stop eating processed food and eat healthier. So that's why we wanted to bring this video, because we're trying to eat healthier, trying to be more natural. So first responders, you guys have got to start taking care of yourselves. If you can't take care of yourself physically, then it's kind of hard to take care of your patients as well. So eat healthy. So that's why we're doing this video. So Mrs. SkinnyMedic has done a video that she filmed all by herself, getting there, about how she canned some tomatoes. So we'll walk through that process in a few minutes. But I thought it was good to kind of you to give a quick overview of the All-American.
Yes, the All-American. This is model 915. We did not get a ginormous one because these things are really heavy. And if you are a hardcore canner and you have a huge garden and you can lots of food, you will definitely want one of the bigger ones. This is a 15.5 quart. It is not the smallest one they offer, but it was one of the smaller ones. It was what I needed starting out because I'm learning, and we do have a garden, but it's not massive. One of the things I like to grow is tomatoes, but I'm the only one that eats the actual tomato. My family loves chili beans and spaghetti and things with tomato sauce in them, so I'm always buying tomato sauce from the store. So homemade tomato sauce I was able to can and put up was one of the things I wanted to do. I also wanted to be able to do chicken broth and beef broth because I make both of those things off leftover chicken carcasses and off beef bones that we have from them when we buy a half a cow. We have soup bones. So all of those things need to be canned. So this was a good canner for me starting out. So there's several different styles of pressure canners. I don't honestly know a lot about the other ones out there. We had just heard from several friends that this was a good one. It does not have a rubber seal, so you do have to, before you use it each time, lubricate this with olive oil or cooking oil. That helps you get your seal. So there's an edge here. And when you're done, you want to make sure and clean that good. So that way the next time when you apply your oil, it gets a good seal. It's a pressure gauge on top. This is the weighted, the weight that goes on there to tell you your pounds. It has 5, 10, or 15. Can you see that? Okay. So the canning book has instructions on what you're canning, how many pounds you should do it at, and for how many minutes. So, and then you can see my water line in here too, where I fill up the water. It's said to do 2 to 3 inches. This has to go down in the bottom, so you put the water up, and it has the little marks to show you how to line it up. I was always a little nervous about pressure canning because everybody always was like, oh, pressure cookers and pressure canning, things can go wrong. Well, they can, but the manual was very clear on some safety issues. You don't ever want to open this when the pressure is not down at 0, and it gives you step-by-step instructions on letting the pressure get back to 0 once you turn the heat source off, to even removing this and waiting another 2 to 3 minutes to make sure all excess pressure is outside before you open it, making sure that when you do open it, you open it away from you so that way none of the heat that comes out burns you, none of the steam. Those are just a couple things, and it was much easier than I expected to be, and I've really enjoyed canning and learning to can the few things I have. Here's me going through the process of blanching the tomatoes to get the peel off, cooking the tomato sauce down for preparing to can them.
They only need to boil about a minute, and when you see their peel starting to crack, you know they're ready to move to the cold water bath. Okay. Got them in the pot to get to simmer. After I had them peeled, I did throw them in my Ninja and just turn it on for like 10 seconds just to get them smooth. I don't like chunky tomato sauce. We just like regular sauce, so part of our process. We'll see how this goes.
Okay, so I have tightened the lid, double checked that everything on the edge looked even. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about with that, with the seal. This is my first time. Just a reminder, y'all. You saw me do something and you're like, they're gonna die, let me know. Okay, got her started. We'll see how this goes. So I've got the lid on. One of the things I had to check was to make sure that that around there was about even. With the All-American pressure canner, they don't use any kind of gasket or rubber seal, and I don't know a lot about canners. This is my first venture, so if I'm not using the correct terminology, well, I'm a newbie. But this one, you rub olive oil on the seal to keep it lubricated, and then you just make sure that that's about the same all the way around. And it looks like it was. So now I'm waiting for some steam to come out of here. Once the steam comes out, I'm gonna put my little regulator piece over there, I believe that's what it's called, to make sure I'm getting the right amount of pressure. And then once that starts wiggling and it matches up to here, I'll know I'm have the right pound, and then I have to just make sure that that little thing here wiggles a couple times every minute, I believe, is what I need to do. I keep going and rereading instructions with each step. All right, I'm at 15 pounds of pressure here. I saw it being close to 15, and I bumped this. I saw videos of people say to bump it, so I've got this little thing to protect my fingers. And I bumped it, because they say sometimes they kind of get settled down on there. As soon as I bumped it, it did start jiggling. So I cut the heat down. I started my timer for 15 because I'm doing 15 pounds of pressure for 15 minutes. So I do need to get this where it's not jiggling as much. So I just have to keep watching my temperature and maybe cut it down a little bit more. One thing I read in the instructional manual was that as you get used to it, you will figure out how to maintain your pressure based on your stove setting. So this is the first time, so I've been playing with the temperature, making sure it wasn't too high. I adjusted it, and it actually did drop a little bit below 14 pounds, but I was in here listening and watching, so quickly adjusted back. So we are doing well, maintaining the 15 pounds on the gauge as well as with the weighted regulator. I did go watch a couple YouTube shorts because that helped me see how other people's All-American pressure canner looked and sounded. One lady was very helpful. She literally had it so you could hear it and know what it should look like to maintain the proper amount. So that was really helpful. Okay, so I've hit my 15 pounds at 15 minutes. I only had to adjust that one time where it barely dropped below 15, and so I turned it back up. Heat is off, and now we wait for it to cool down. It has to completely cool. Once all the pressure is down to 0, you can then take the weighted regulator off, give it another 2 minutes, and then you can open the pressure canner. It said that always open the lid away from you, so if there is any remaining steam, it does not hit you in the face. But definitely do not open that pressure canner until you are at 0 pressure. 0 pressure. So I'm gonna take my regulator off with my hot pad covers, don't burn my finger, and I'm going to give it 2 minutes to continue to make sure excess steam is off. It's been 2 minutes, so I'm going to undo my lid. And when you screw the lid down, you actually do them at like the ones across each other at the same time to try to do it even. So I'm gonna do the same thing undoing it. My pot is model 915. I think it's the 15 quart. I don't remember right offhand, but we did not get the real big one. I think some of the big ones have 8 of these knobs. This one has 6. It's very hot too. I'm gonna put on these on my hands. so I'm going to turn and lift away. Got my can picker upper doohickey. That's a real technical term. Okay. Right. Now I got it on these towels, and it's on a towel for the extra moisture. Okay, now we just see if they pop as they cool. I did read where if they don't for some reason, that you could redo the process within 24 hours to let it cool back down and try again. So we'll see. We picked up this canner from practicalpreppers.com. Scott Hunt is a great asset for resources for preparedness and homesteading.
So thank you guys for watching. We'll put a link down below to Practical Preppers where you can go to purchase this All-American canner if you'd like to. Appreciate all support, you guys. Thank you guys for watching. You never know when you'll be the first responder. Remember, you need the right gear and the right training. And in this little video, you got to eat healthy. So thank you guys.